All right. Welcome to the latest edition of the FPL America podcast. This is David Smith.
Travis Hoig.
Brian Shusko.
What'd you think about that, Brian?
It's fine.
Boys, sorry I'm late. We're getting a late start. No one will know this because it's not like we broadcast live. But I was a little bit later getting here as I was trying to wrap up basketball practice. Busy evening. And I got here late only because, and this is what's going to be funny, I was probably unbeknownst to anyone on the team, as a coach, I was going to cut practice short by 5 minutes. And one of my girls Coach, I think we should run some sprints. And how do you say no to that as a coach? So we did that, and it delayed me a little bit longer. So anyways, gentlemen, my apologies, but we are now flying. I'm fantasy flying at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say this right now because it will stop after this week. But for 2 weeks of the season, I was tops in the mini league, and I am in the top 5 or 6 I think I'm top 6 in the FPL America podcast league. I am. I've moved up to 6. So I'm saying all this not braggadociously, only as celebratory because I won't be there probably very long.
Don't let anyone tell you it can't happen.
True. Eat your heart out, Scotty Potty. Hey. All right. All that being said,
you're five points off of fifth place, by the way. Just so you know,
I'm getting close. I'm creeping up there.
You can't complain.
Brian, I'll have to get your advice on how to keep this lead because this is a territory I've never been in.
Well, the first thing that's really important is if you still have your wild card, so you should be able to remake your team however you want in the really, really important weeks coming up.
I don't have my wild card.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I don't know what to tell
I do have my other chips.
Okay. We need to talk about all of those things.
I used my wild card. It literally catapulted me. I think I've had 4 straight weeks in the 70s, and now this is the 5th week and I got 81 this week.
Yeah, that's a great score.
When I used it, I probably couldn't have used it at a better time. I was way down, catapulted me up. So I'm pumped about that, celebrating that. But Brian, no one cares 3 flips about me and my fantasy prowess.
No, they don't.
We want to talk about the games.
It's all about your end of season ranking anyway, and that's what you use to really rub it in other people's faces. But we should talk about what's happening in the upcoming double game week 25.
Massive. Yep, it's so much to cover.
Some things happen in game week 24 that I don't know might have some bearing on what happened and what will happen for you in game week 25.
Maybe.
And there's other things beyond game week 25. We have not talked about chip strategy. We've referenced the double game weeks.
Right.
We haven't done any of those things. I think largely because, for me, I think it's mostly because I don't want to think that far ahead, and that it probably explains why I'm looking up at you guys and your scores now. From several feet below.
But now it's time.
Right?
Now it's absolutely
no more delaying. We absolutely have to talk about it because there's a lot of changes you probably want to make.
All right. Well, let's dive into it. Manchester City 2, Everton 0.
Yep.
Haaland gets the start, and was that this week or last week that people worried about Haaland starting? We knew he was starting this week, right?
I think there was knowledge that he
subbed in last week.
And there was the fitness of it was Pep saying we'd said that there was no injury concerns for City.
That's right.
With Pep saying everyone's fit and available. So I think the assumption was if he's fit and available, he's going to start.
It just felt like ages ago when that happened. And so it did happen this week. I captained Haaland, so I was a little nervous about that.
Yeah.
But then when I saw he was starting, was not nervous.
You were nervous.
Haaland bags a brace.
You were nervous until minute 70 something.
I was.
Yeah.
I was. City left it late. I felt a little bad for Everton. They played valiantly. Multiple saves. Tarkowski ended up having, I think it was Tarkowski, had a block save when Pickford was completely out of the goal. And not out of the goal, but he had just made a save on one side, and Tarkowski covered the other side, made a save. Pickford was under fire all game. I mean, it was kind of, for the most part, one-way traffic with City. And but they got it done. In the end, they got it done.
2 perfectly Erling Haaland goals, too. His goals were so Haaland.
Yeah.
Smashing the first one and pushing a boy out of the way to score the second one. Just such iconic Erling Haaland. That was my I had two moves going into the week. One of them was idiotic. The other one was very good because I got rid of even though despite everything we said on the podcast last week, I ended up selling Ollie Watkins anyway to get Haaland in. It was the only way I could do it without taking a hit.
Okay.
So if I wanted to do Solanke or Joao Pedro,
it would have had
to Haaland, it would have required me to take someone else out. Would have been a -4 where I had the straight up money to go from Watkins to Haaland. Yeah, and of course Haaland was the captain there.
Travis, I did something that I haven't done in a long, long time. I committed fantasy treason.
We saw that.
I burned a transfer. I literally burned a transfer. I let it on fire. This was the move, and this is why it hurts so bad.
I was going to say, what were you going to do?
I was going to bring in Nathan Ake for Estupinian because I was preparing for City's double match week. And City doesn't carry many clean sheets. We've covered that, right? So, but I figured maybe they'd get one clean sheet in their double match week. And I was too late. Because Ake, of course, gets an assist in this match and gets a clean sheet. I think he also drew a yellow card because I think he only had 8 points. So my 88 easily could have been an 89 if I just literally wouldn't have lit a transfer on fire and completely torched it. Yeah. Because I was, anyway. So now I still have 2 transfers in this week. I will use them, but I want to try to outfit my team.
When you're doing so good, you just let your transfers get to 2, and then you're like, well, I don't really need to do anything. I've got 2 transfers, but if it ain't broke.
Travis, I'm an idiot. Travis, what were your takes on this match? Anything that stand out to you?
No, I just like seeing Everton lose.
Okay, touche.
That's all.
I mean, this
really,
was...
even with City, you don't...
I don't care.
Okay.
Jordan Pickford is not my favorite.
You would rather see City win than Everton win this game?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Is that a unique Liverpool fan perspective, or is that a Travis? Is that a or is that? I mean, if it's just Travis, it's unique. But
no, my brother would feel the same way.
Oh, really?
I think.
I don't care for City, but
a reasonable Liverpool fan like Scott would probably say the other way around.
Reasonable. No, Scott is not reasonable.
So you had Foden.
I did have Foden.
Did anyone have De Bruyne in this room?
Negative.
No.
Not one person has De Bruyne in this room. So De Bruyne comes off the bench, gets an assist.
I don't think he's going to start again. Did you see the article that what Pep said about him?
Right, but he didn't start today either.
I know. That's because what I'm about to tell you in Pep was saying he liked what De Bruyne was able to give more off the bench, that he was more threatful late off the bench than when he starts. He literally said that. I think might continue the rest of the season.
He drifts out of games because he loses a little bit of steam.
I was going to say his freshness is key to what they're doing.
You figure De Bruyne coming in, watching the entire match. And so here's the other thing. Super smart, witty player. When you're watching the match, you're hearing the coaches on the sidelines, you're hearing all the strategy, and then all of a sudden at 60 minutes you can come in and execute that. I just wonder if that's not even a little extra on the city.
Well, they needed
side.
it the last couple of matches.
And I would say I'd say that match is what you hoped for. It was
for fantasy reasons,
less.
Yes.
In real football, I think it was less than you would expect from City, just because they were slogging away for 70 minutes.
70 minutes, yeah.
But I would just say, the outcome is what everyone was kind of hoping for, which is a Haaland brace. The disclaimer for the rest of the way, though, is one, this was a rare clean sheet for them. They did not give up a cheap goal.
Yep.
So the predictability of the defense has been is hard, and I would say that's the reason why. If you had gotten Ake and you get a return from him in a game, you should feel extremely fortunate for that. Just because I think Kyle Walker was benched in this one. Was this another one that Kyle Walker?
Walker started this match, I thought.
No, he came in.
You're right.
The
57th
yep.
Right.
He came in. Yep.
So that's another one where you're like, that's been their Iron Man and captain all season until the last 4 weeks. And I can't remember. I think it was Let's Talk FPL. Andy, one of those guys, had said every City player, all of the key players are nailed until they're not. And that should be the same for the defenders too. And that's the hardest part with predicting what it is. There is an injury. Somebody, who was it? Akanji, I think, got hurt today.
Yep, Akanji came off. Bernardo
Silva got injured.
Grealish.
And Grealish was early.
But Bernardo they think it's ligament.
Well, that's not good.
I know.
So the disclaimer for everything we would say about City, just because I think because both matches are at home.
Are they the doubling darling?
They definitely are doubling darling. Yes.
Travis loves that term.
The
by
doubling
the way.
darling.
The disclaimer is that they're both but because both matches are at home, I just think one, you want to capitalize on whatever you can from them if you haven't already. Two, and B, and also D. No, two.
Really?
I would be interested. I think the thing that is of most interest is what we referenced Alex, Manchester City. There's Fantasy Scout Luke, I think, is another one. There's a handful of pundits? Manchester City specific opinions, lineup predictions. Okay. I'm most interested in their thoughts in the next day or so. I think until we see not just press conferences to get clarity on injuries, because for sure we saw the ones we mentioned, but also just to kind of get a feel for how hard after this do you want to go? And the reason why I say that is because the City schedule is Saturday, Tuesday for the foreseeable future. It's Saturday, Tuesday, Chelsea, Brentford. We talked about that last week. The following Saturday, they're away to Bournemouth. The following Tuesday, the 27th of February,
in Copenhagen,
at Luton for the FA Cup fifth round.
Oh.
The following Saturday, Manchester Derby at home. Then the following Tuesday, Copenhagen in the Champions League at home.
Got you.
Followed by that Saturday, away to Liverpool.
Away.
So every match is Saturday, Tuesday from now until Liverpool.
Those are a lot of kind of big boy matches.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's why I think you can, when you're asking the question, this is why I'm really curious to see what anyone who really knows about Manchester City or has tried to do their best to understand the tactics, exactly what it is they're looking for, especially if you find out, hey, Bernardo Silva is not playing till April. Jack Grealish is not going to play
until April.
So, and that was something that I did see today. That was Manchester City, Alex, that said, he talked about the starting lineup today for Copenhagen, he said, was City's best attacking their best attacking five. That included Grealish. So one of the people I was going to talk about was Doku. And just knowing that Doku, we've talked about him before. He may even have been in some teams. He's in 2.3% of teams right now.
He's definitely fallen off the boil, but he's going to get an opportunity very likely, right?
Alex's point today was basically Doku just isn't there yet. And you can see he went so far as to say City is worse. He actually brings down their attack just because he hasn't settled in yet.
He loses possession fairly quickly.
His amazing stat, one that he said, was just that Haaland and Doku have played 950 minutes together and have not combined for one goal.
Mm-hmm.
Doku's the one thing he has done the whole time he's been every start he's had, he's creating chances constantly. He is one of their top.
Just not for Haaland.
Yeah, the numbers for Doku, he's second on the team in assists. So Foden,
Doku is?
Yes, Foden has 7. Doku's got 5. I think somebody else has 5 for the season.
Interesting.
He's created 30 chances in 975 minutes. That's third best on the team. Bernardo Silva has created 33 chances in 1,500 minutes.
Wow.
Okay? So Doku's 30 chances in 900 minutes. Bernardo Silva, 33 chances in 1,500 minutes. What he's doing when he's out there, he breaks people down, so many take-ons, so many completed dribbles, so many chances created, but all you can say is they're not like the best chances, and the chances aren't going to Haaland.
Haaland has 6. He's the one that's ahead of Doku. And actually, Alvarez has 8. He's in first. So 8 for Alvarez, 7 for Foden, 6 for Haaland, 5 for Doku.
There you go.
So midfielders.
Well, because then it's Bernardo has 4, and then
but still,
and
that's
then De Bruyne
shocking.
already has 4,
I'm amazed.
which is insane.
So what's weird is but Doku had started 3 of the last 4 matches for City anyway. 2 of those matches he had an expected goal contribution, so his XGC was over 1. It was 1.1 and 1.4.
Wow.
Okay. So I think that was 4 and 3 weeks ago. So it was a bit ago. But either way, it's within the last few matches that he's had games where his expected goal contribution is high.
All right.
And he got no returns. I'm just saying because of the Grealish injury today,
Right.
Doku's 6.5.
And Bernardo.
Right. I mean, it may just be as simple as he has to play.
I agree.
And they figure out how to rearrange with Foden being able to play whatever position, and I don't know how high up does Oscar Bob go. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like these are players that the kind of the guys that are who'd they get from Wolves?
Matheus Nunez.
Yeah. So Nunez, I'm sure will get.
He will
I
definitely
think
get
he
runs.
started this last.
Yeah,
week.
He did, but he came off for De Bruyne.
Yeah. So
All
I
right.
guess.
So-
So I guess the like that's like the peripheral guys. Like Bernardo Silva, I guess, was a consideration. I guess the 2 big things for me are you triple captaining Erling Haaland this
Well,
week?
I was going to say yes. That's an option.
So is that the most automatic decision in history, or are you considering, just because
waiting for a Liverpool triple match
minutes risk or whatever? Yeah, some other thing down the road. Like, is this the best time to use it? And the other thing would be, what do you do between De Bruyne and Salah? And we like that can kind of
we'll get to that. I don't
flow
know.
into the. I'm just using that as a bridge into the Liverpool part of the conversation.
Until De Bruyne is starting, I don't think he's in the conversation.
He already has 4 assists. He's only started 3 games.
Would you buy him? If money didn't matter, would you put him in your team?
I think so, yeah.
No, I'm not putting someone in my team if he's not starting.
But it's
I understand that technically the stats are there.
if he doesn't need minutes to get points,
That's fair.
why does it matter? I guess, and that's what I'm saying with the 4 surprised me, but when he's on the field, he is contributing to their goal scoring opportunities and creating. And yes, he may not be putting anything in the net, but he's definitely getting
But
assists.
he's come close. I got to give him credit there.
And he
He's
is
come
taking
close.
shots.
Yeah.
Especially within a double game week, I think there's a pretty high likelihood that if anybody's going to play both matches, it's somebody coming off the bench, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's
that's
not
interesting.
It's not that he won't play. I think the turnaround is enough. Like Saturday, Tuesday is enough time. There is plenty of recovery.
With 2 midfielders already potentially off the
Expecting
table.
him to start both, I don't know. I don't know that I would do that.
I 100% agree.
But-
We can't even say he's going to start 1 out of the 2, honestly.
Right.
But
and there's already, I mean, there's opinions that like there's people now that are saying like, hey, since he didn't start this week, given the injury situation, I'm even kind of there's confidence of him starting
It's possible.
for sure
It's more
against
possible.
Chelsea.
That's a
But
good point.
anyway,
He's been back. All right. To your point, Travis, I hate to admit that you're probably more right than me in this. He's been back for 4 games. His fantasy score is De Bruyne. This is 12-7-5-4. And he
You don't get that from a starter.
did start the Brentford match.
yeah. He only has 3 starts this season.
He
though.
started the Burnley match. Anyway, so he's had 2 subs and 2 starts.
you're in first place, so I'm trusting what you're saying here.
My gut. Well, don't ever do that. But my gut. I don't know. That'd be a tough. That's like in a fantasy American football. This is not an American fantasy football podcast.
Thank God.
I have a couple rules. One of them is never own a Raider and never own a Bengal. It goes way back to dumb rules, but I always kind of stuck with that, and always seemed to be fine.
Yeah, just all Browns all the time.
I don't know about
big
that.
Browns guy.
But I'm more Browns than Bengals. I can promise you that. All right.
Tonight, the
What-
shirt.
what is the
tonight,
shirt
it's
you
not
have
an
on?
NFL podcast, but tonight.
Hold on. Stand up a little bit. We can't see it.
Watts Wrecking
Watts
Crew.
Wrecking Crew, Pittsburgh, PA.
That's right.
Okay, TJ Watt. Okay, that's enough of that.
TJ Watt was robbed of Defensive Player of the Year this year.
Who'd they give it to?
Myles Garrett.
Speaking of the Browns.
Okay, all right.
It was the Browns. It was the
Perfect.
Browns rewards year for doing better than they've ever done.
Second to last place.
DeMar Hamlin comes back from the dead and can't get comeback player of the year because Joe Flacco had a few good games. So
Even after Joe Flacco said, give it to Hamlin.
Myles Garrett.
All right.
all right.
We've already
Either
talked
way.
too much. But what are we
Either way.
talking about? What are we
NFL
doing
podcast.
here?
All right.
The
Brian,
point is, if you
By
really
DeMar Hamlin.
pick 3 City players. This is what I wanted to get to. If you had to have 3 for the double match week, I want to hear your 3. Travis, you can go first because Brian's staring at a screen. Three City players.
I don't think I can get 3 City
I'm
players
not
in,
asking you.
but
If you
if
had
I
to
can,
choose. If you had to choose.
Haaland, De Bruyne, and probably Walker.
Okay. I would say if I could pick 3 and it didn't matter, I would say
I would probably say
Haaland, Foden
De Bruyne, Foden.
for me.
Yeah.
And then I probably would go with a defender, and it might be Nathan Ake or Ruben Diaz.
I
And I know that sounds kind of silly because they gave up a goal to Copenhagen today. So it's whatever. But Brian, if you had to pick 3, my other guy would be Alvarez, Haaland, Alvarez, Foden. But if I had to pick 3, but I'm not owning. I'm not owning Alvarez and Foden. Brian,
if I had to take 3, I'm taking De Bruyne, Haaland, De Bruyne, Foden.
okay, all right, fair enough.
But like for
It's
me,
not
and that's what I
realistic.
wanted. So
I think
now
that's
getting
pretty
into the what I was going to say, getting to the Liverpool part of the podcast, like I can't get to Salah now without I don't know a -8,
right,
a
all right.
minimum. And so that's why I'm saying, like, if money was no object, I think your decision. You saw. So let's just go to Liverpool.
Do you still have your wild card?
I do.
Would
So-
you wild card for the double game week in order to avoid a negative?
No,
or do that?
I would just take the hits. I still see, because of how the rearrangement of fixtures has to happen after game week 29, that Ben Krellen is saying game week 34 is certain to be a double game week for numerous teams, and that he's describing right now game week 37 as being a huge double game week.
So
That's
I get
way
that.
down there, and I know that's the big part of the chip discussion that I think has to happen, is just to say that is so far down the road. Knowing what's going to happen by then, knowing whether or
But
not
will you get a Liverpool and Manchester City double game week, knowing that you could potentially get 6 players on the field from both those
And they're
teams?
not playing each other.
They're not, and their
Right.
matchups aren't like.
The matchups are pretty good.
Like that's what I'm getting at. Is like
Yeah.
like the number of double game weeks is important, but Liverpool and Manchester City, if you maximize, that's 6 of your 11.
Yeah.
That's-
Well, and I guess that's the thought. So there is not only just for wild card's sake, like there's a lot of weeks to shape your team to fit approaching double game weeks and
Yeah.
such down the line.
All right.
Yeah.
And so the other part of that is, and I know I've heard this from multiple FPL pundits over the years for sure. There is something good about getting chips out of the way. So
Yeah.
once you don't have them anymore, you're not sweating where you're going to be using them.
And you force
So
yourself
there-
to be more strategic
Yeah,
over a span of
for
time,
sure.
and don't burn.
So that you're not saying like, oh, I'm
Transfers.
really gonna nail that double game week, and I'm gonna make my team. I'm gonna have all I'm gonna bench boost so that I have 15 players who are in a double game, whatever. Like, it doesn't always work out that way, and a lot of times, we've talked about it forever. And this week is a great example. There's the single game week matches that are happening this
Are
week.
really good.
They're awesome.
And a lot of people are looking at this week. Should I bench boost this week?
Right.
Now, I would say that for one of those ladder matches. But
Yeah.
ladder
So
matches.
anyway,
all right.
all of that to say, I still am not in a place where I'm like, yeah, I definitely want to do that. And I think a big part of that is how much full what kind of full training was Salah back
All right.
to today?
Yes, freeze. Liverpool 3, Burnley 1. All right, Liverpool
Little
ends up
lopsided.
Jota, who's on my team. Thank you.
It ended
Jota.
up being score lopsided, but Burnley
dominated.
had chances.
They dominated
2-1,
most
multiple
of the first
chances.
Burnley,
Yeah, no, they really
Burnley did not set up a low block. They
did
came
not.
to flat play,
They did.
and they made the game a lot of fun. And yeah, the Liverpool was up in the 52nd minute. They were up 2-1, and then Nunez shut the match down. But let me tell you something. Burnley, to their credit, and I know that the possession's going to say 30%, but it didn't feel like that at least in the first half.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't. And I mean, I moan all the time about the referees, but this referee was weird. It was as though he was only calling fouls that were yellow cards, and then and that wasn't even consistent with the way that he was doing that. When he called
Whoa,
a foul,
they didn't
he
have
hit a-
yellow card consistency? Shocker.
It was really poor, and it made the game really difficult for both sides because they wanted to be aggressive, but they were afraid, and so then he started handing out the cards. I mean, there's 7 cards in this match, 7 cards in this match. If you got 7 players on the pitch that are worried about the next foul that they're going to give and whether or not it's going to be the thing that gets them sent off.
Grief, man.
I mean, it definitely changed the game by halftime. The vast majority of those had been handed out, and it shifted the momentum significantly because Burnley doesn't have anybody to put back on, right? If they have somebody in trouble, and so they let the foot off the gas on that, and I think that opened the door for Liverpool to be more aggressive. But Liverpool was very thin, both on the bench and on the field, with the virus going through the team.
Yeah, which was
Along with the injuries.
Surprise Allison's not starting.
right.
Surprise, who else?
Joe Gomez wasn't in the team.
Joe Gomez.
Gomez and Allison
So-
are the two big.
Gravenberch picked up an injury in the warm-ups, so Soboslai was recovering but didn't even make the bench.
Right.
Hey, can you just say this? It's not happening for Thiago. Can we just rule that guy out forever? It's just not happening.
He's probably
for him,
played
man.
his last game for,
I was gonna
for
say.
Liverpool, which is sad,
For sure.
but
Anyway, I just wanted to say it was like he
Yeah,
comes
yeah,
out, he finally gets back, and then he picks up
Got
some
something
other
out
hip
for him?
injury. Or something.
it was not a recurrence of the injury that
It
kept
was-
him
it
out
was
for
a-
as long.
right.
It was something else completely. I mean, honestly, his age is starting to show. He needs to go someplace where he can not play as many matches and not
DC
as
United.
aggressive. Well, MLS probably wouldn't be a bad idea.
All right, let's. all right.
So
There's
I'll,
burning questions for Liverpool here. Number one.
I was
right?
gonna say it
Can
was-
can I be selfish here?
yeah, of course.
Always are.
What's going on with Joe Gomez? He didn't play the last match because of sickness. It wasn't because
Yeah.
of.
He's done. Let me
what do you mean
clarify.
he's done?
Let me say that.
He's been Mr. Utility Guy.
Here's the deal. Trent was back. Robertson is back.
Yeah.
And Kwanzaa is
Well, Kanate is going to be back this week.
so Kanate and Kwanzaa are better center back. So even with Matip out, Kwanzaa's going to get the start. So if Gomez is getting on the field, he's getting on the field at right back or left back.
And now you don't
With-
have to have that, especially because Connor Bradley was in training today.
Correct. So Bradley is back, even with TAA out.
So Gomez
because
is
TAA
done.
was pulled as a precaution. He may or may not have an injury. It doesn't matter.
Not in training today.
I think Bradley is on the right and Robertson's on the left, and you've got 3 guys at center back.
I got a dead
Gomez,
Liverpool player on my
Gomez
double
is
match
not
league.
going to play for a while.
All right.
Now that's what I get out of it. And honestly, it's not because he's played poorly and because he hasn't done a good job. He's done a fantastic job. But so is Kwanzaa. And Kwanzaa's a center back, and that's the position that's out there.
All right. How much confidence do you have in Connor Bradley starting both those matches?
That's the question. At this stage, he's been out. He's not been training. There is a wholly a possibility that Gomez starts on the right for the first match and Bradley comes in for the second. That is absolutely possible.
That's entirely dependent on the injury to Trent.
Correct. If Trent is in the mix, Gomez doesn't see the field. It's going to be between the two of them. Are you breaking stuff?
I'm getting a call.
Well, I see that because you've turned white on our screen here. Oh, you're back. Hello there.
Sorry, I was doing things.
It's a good thing we don't cut this out.
Yeah, it's all in there.
Love it.
This is real life.
Yeah. Was Konate come straight back in for you?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know why.
I'm asking because I would like to have a Liverpool
He had a great
defender in this, and Konate is a 4'9", Bradley's a 4'1". I think Bradley is the guy I would want if I knew he was starting both matches. Konate was only missed because of a red card. Therefore, he will absolutely, I think, probably start both matches.
I don't know if he'll start both matches.
Oh, my gosh.
Kwanzaa's probably going to get one of those.
Who's going to start both matches other than Virgil?
It's Van Dijk.
That's the only guy I can count on.
Robertson.
Yeah, I was gonna say. You think
Robertson's
So Andy Robertson,
will,
in a segment we like to call "How Lucky Do You Feel?" Andy Robertson, one shot, one big chance this week, created 5 chances, which I say is
really good.
Is extremely good. If Darwin was a better finisher, he finishes one of those.
It doesn't kick it
on
right
an
at the
Andy
keeper.
Robertson, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. He created a big chance. He had an expected assist of 0.58. That's better than half by my math. 5 touches in the opposition box, which was 3rd on the team. He had the same number of touches in the box as Luis Diaz. So I feel like that was significant because that's his thing. And then he had 14 crosses, 6 of which were corners. I guess the question is, I've got Trent. Lots of people have Trent.
Yeah.
If you have Trent, are you just swapping Trent for Robertson and saying I don't care if Trent is fit or not? I'm just gonna take what I get from Robertson because he looked pretty good this week, or would you want to go more stability, or would you just ignore the defense altogether?
I am ignoring the defense altogether with my strategy, but it's not a good strategy clearly because I'm not anywhere near the top of anything. That said, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to swap Trent for Robertson. If that's the way you decide to go, I don't think you'll be upset. But if Trent is playing, I think he's more dangerous than Robertson.
Trent, despite going off at halftime or whatever it was, and because he got the assist, he was on for bonus points until the third goal. Like Trent's first half was dominant, and that's the part that it's extremely frustrating to know that he may or may not. But I think training today, the fact that it was of course the social media blow up about Salah, that Salah's back, and Connor Bradley's obviously there, and it's Szoboszlai and Trent who are the notorious absences. So I guess that's to me the biggest questions are Salah back in full training. Salah is just coming straight back in.
I think Salah plays. He probably plays both matches, and I think he's ready to go.
Jota started on the right side, but I don't know that necessarily matters because positionally, he scored his goal from a header in the center of the box. His heat map, his touch map is all over the kind of left and right and center.
I think your front three is Salah, Darwin, and Jota, but Darwin and Jota can switch, so it doesn't matter. I think that's your front three. I think that's who plays.
Not Diaz?
You're still confident that this is Salah coming back doesn't do anything to affect whether Jota is starting or not.
That he is the one that I think is not affected. I think if they're going to pull anybody off, it'll be Darwin. Jota will go in the middle, and then Diaz will go in the left.
So confidence of Salah starting next match is confidence level 1 to 10, 10 being the most.
I'm 8.5.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I'm 8.5. He's not just active in training. They're making a big deal about it. He looks fit. He's been very aggressive in trying to get back.
The criticism has all been from Egyptians.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
Why did he leave? If he wouldn't have left, none of this. Yeah, they wouldn't have lost it.
Dedication to the national team low. Dedication to Liverpool high. He faked his injury, etc.
Well, and there's something to be said about that. But he didn't want to leave. He he felt like he just couldn't get the recuperation that he needed, or rather, the people around him thought he couldn't get the recuperation that he needed on site there, and that's why they brought him back.
They said hamstring tear. I mean, they didn't say strain, which I know. I get the strain is a slight tear anyway, but it's still like the way they talked about it was, I think, a good tear.
Isn't
that the way they
it and give him a good massage, and he'll be put him back on the pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think more so than anything, he's more concerned about being able to run the course of the season as opposed to being able to make it through the tournament.
Right.
And so putting your health on the line to get his country through the tournament wasn't something he was willing to do, and so the criticism is probably a little bit warranted.
All right. All that being said, who cares about Egypt and the country's games?
Get Salah in your double game week is what I say.
That
I
is
think
what
he
I'm
plays
trying
both.
to get to.
I think he plays both.
No, let's talk about Egypt.
It's not. Egypt's a pretty cool place.
I'm sure it is.
This is not a Sphinx.
I have not
podcast.
been to Egypt yet, but I really would like to go. All right. All right. It sounded like I was being very dismissive there, but I didn't want to be like that. I just wanted to move on with the podcast.
It's typical. We're used to it.
Egypt talk, okay, guys.
All right. I can't get to Salah.
That's what I'm looking
Right.
at.
I mean, right. Can you?
I can get to him. Trent has to go.
Which is fine.
Totally fine. You guys are managing without him, and I've got it's Bowen has to become Salah.
So we need to talk about Bowen because Bowen needs to do something. I'm ready to sell. Is that crazy?
Hold on.
No, not at all.
We'll get there. Let's stay on Liverpool
but
at the moment.
I was gonna say, like,
We talk about Liverpool a ton.
the difference is 5.5. So.
All right.
Yeah, Trent. It has to be Trent and someone. I'd have to make. I think if Trent becomes the cheapest possible, I think it's 4.1 is what I'd have. Which actually
Connor Bradley.
Yes. Actually, the other guy that I was talking about, someone we talked about on this podcast weeks ago, Van Hecke from Brighton. I believe he just went up this week.
Maybe 4.2.
He was projected to go up. He did not. He's still 4.0. So
4.0.
Yeah, he's 4.0, and he is
He's starting, but they're not doing anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, but if you got like
getting
Purvis
beat up.
to Stupinian, then
Right.
like.
So and that's the other,
expensive.
and so that's the other guy. If I was
Tariq Lamptey's 3.9.
right,
so.
if I was remaking my team, Estupinian wouldn't be there.
Right.
I sold when we get to it. I sold Porro this week to get one of your guys. So like,
Okay.
and I still have Trippier. So that's the other thing. I have Trent and Trippier. I've got a lot of money.
That's a lot of
defensive money
money
wrapped up in defense, but those are the top two defenders
Wow. Okay.
by scoring. Either way, the point is getting to Salah is either making Trent turn into the cheapest possible defender that I can get and turning Jared Bowen into Salah.
It's pretty good turn there, I think.
I would think it is too.
All right. Moving on to my guys.
But it would be a -8 to do that.
You could
Always
wild
is.
card.
I know. That's exactly the decision.
Arsenal 6, and that's not a typo. Arsenal 6, West Ham 0.
We don't care. Let's
Arsenal
move on.
6, West Ham 0.
Yeah.
Goals raining in from Saliba, Gabriel, Trossard, Declan Rice, and then Brian, your boy, Bukayo Saka.
Yeah.
With a brace.
Yeah, he was awesome. First of all, I'm assuming you're ignoring Declan Rice's 17.
17.
17 points.
He
So
had-
a goal and two assists.
Yes. I think that's an ignore.
That's
Although, ever since they got back from Dubai, he's been taking the corners.
true.
And their
Okay.
set pieces have
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah.
So to be fair,
That was a big deal.
So what I was going to say
to be
is
fair, it's probably worth mentioning and like at least looking
agree.
at that.
so his returns are very normal, I would say, for someone in his position. They're no better than I don't know what the numbers are. My guess is he might be at or around what Rodri is. So he's to me, because of price, whatever. He's a low level consideration. And I was going to say his expected goal involvement for the season, I don't think he had 1 week where he had an expected goal involvement over 0.3.
Well,
and then this week he goes for a goal and 2 assists or whatever, so it's off the charts. But what I'm saying is, like, this is not like you're already likely invested in Saka. We've already kind of poo-pooed the idea of making Odegaard a second option. Why in the world would you go, double up to have Declan Rice, except that you throw him on your bench? But there are better, cheaper options at that price.
So here's the deal. In the 4 games, it's been since he started taking corners, 6-2-1-17, right? So 50% of the time he's getting assists. He's got 3 assists in 4 games and 1 goal. And so I don't know. I'm just wondering, like, yes, I understand exactly what the stats say, and yes, up to this point, there was only one other game against Luton for the most part. That's not true. There was a couple other games, but in the last 10 games, you weren't getting much except for the last 2 out of 4, where all of a sudden you're getting 3 assists and 1 goal respectively. So I don't know. That is wild, Brian. It's a good call. I'm not saying you completely ignore it.
In the last 4 weeks. So to your point, so 4 weeks in a row now, Odegaard 17 chances created, Saka 11, Declan Rice 8. So
okay.
And I'm
it's
sure
not far off the pace.
And I mean, look, big chances created, Odegaard 5, Declan Rice 3, Saka 2 in the last 4 weeks.
That's big chances created, right?
Yeah, I'm sure that's a consequence of. I would say it's a consequence of set pieces.
Of the corners.
Right.
But still, it's happening.
It's the reason why anyone who takes set pieces, any player who kicks a corner has an increased value over a player who doesn't regularly take those kicks.
Yep.
Anyway.
No, for sure. No, it's an interesting point. I wouldn't have thought to bring that up, but it's a good call on you.
Okay. No, I just wanted to ask, just because he's the top scorer of the game week, and I think there, of course, there's plenty of people who I'm sure are bringing him in just because that's how people react.
I think Saka's still a must own.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're not doing anything with him. I don't think, regardless.
I mean, most people own it,
right?
So we're not spouting out knowledge.
Would you dare? Would you dare swap him? I feel like this week they're home to Burnley. You're not taking him out. I mean, even if it's Saka to Salah, you're not doing that, are you?
No.
Are you even thinking of Saka to?
I don't know.
To any of the higher guys?
I don't know because
Saka to De Bruyne or Salah.
So, for instance, on my team, my midfield is Saka, Jota, Foden, Palmer, Richarlison. So I got 4 of my 5 over 7-0. Richarlison being 7-0, Foden 7-8, Jota's 8, Saka 9, Palmer 5-8. Right. So, even if I was to go to Salah, I mean, technically Saka would be the easiest target, and then I still got to find £3 to make it happen. Yeah. Now, Jota is at 8-0. That seems like the obvious option.
Right.
I would love to have Salah and Jota, but then all of a sudden I'm not taking out Foden going to double match week.
Right.
And you could argue that Richarlison's as hot as anyone in the league, even though he didn't score this past match week.
So the consideration there would be they play Wolves this week and then they blank in 26.
Richarlison?
Yeah, and so I had already made that move because of his heat, going before we recorded last week.
You got it out of him or you brought him in?
No, I brought him in. I hadn't had him at all. I made that transfer as fast as I possibly could to bring him in. I finally got rid of Salah to bring in Richarlison, and then it was kind of after I knee-jerked him into the team where that was the thought was, well, wait a minute, why do that? You're getting 2 games, instead of making it Salah to Richarlison, why didn't I just go Salah to Jota at that point? It was a bad move. And I'm saying that, I'm saying that as a bit of hindsight now, since he didn't get a return this week against Brighton, but that was the consideration. I'm saying because I thought of it afterwards with Porro, where I'm like, I'm giving him up for basically a week. Yeah. I'll figure it out after 26 if I want to bring him back in. Yeah. But basically, I'm giving him up for, he's only got 1 match compared to someone who, if it's Robertson or whoever, somebody who either, for me this week, it was Gabriel, where I'm like, Gabriel's playing Burnley. I would rather have him against Burnley than Porro against Wolves. And then he blanks in 26 and Arsenal doesn't. So that, like, why wasn't I thinking that way with Richarlison? Like, why wouldn't I have done that? It's because I'm stupid. That's the only explanation.
Knowing is half the battle.
That's a big part of the battle for sure. It's at least half. I agree with G.I. Joe. Dave,
what else about Arsenal?
Just that Odegaard. I mean, Odegaard had himself a Cole Palmer this week. He 2 assists, gets a bonus point, gets a clean sheet point, so he finishes with a 10. Created 7 chances, which is third most this week.
Right. How much fun is he to watch? Don't you love
an unbelievable player, especially when he's playing West Ham and no one's even trying to guard him.
Defend.
Yeah, when he's just able to skate through everybody.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I don't think he's a bad pick. I just don't think he's a maximum pick.
I agree.
So like this week, you love it if you have him.
Yeah.
You love the 10.
Yeah.
But
not many people have him.
The few people out there I know, I don't want to keep dragging Ben Crellin into this podcast to sully his good name, but he has Gabriel and Saliba. So he was playing both.
Yeah.
He's in the top. He's cracking the top 1,000, I think. Top 2,000
he's in the
like that.
He's trying to crack that top 1,000 by the end of the season.
Right.
He's in the top 2,000.
So, and that's what happens when you have both of those guys. To me, I'm looking at other managers who who don't have him. I just haven't. I've spent most of the season arguing against the necessity of having Saliba and Gabriel, mostly because it's all of this. For most of the beginning of the season, it was what I would just say is phantom goal threat. Just the assumption of they're going to be on set pieces or whatever. These teams that are bad on it, and Arsenal, like they did have some clean sheets, but you've watched it. They've shipped goals in the weirdest ways and lost games or drew games where you're like, what the heck? How did we concede goals on that few chances? So in a week like this where you blow them out and both guys get a goal, it's huge.
Right.
So,
if I told you, would you give me odds on if through 24 games this season and 24 games last season, which Arsenal team scored more goals this season or last season through 24 games?
I don't know.
Question begs the answer.
They just scored 6, so it's hard not to say this season because I feel like they've had a few games like that where they've just
this season
crashed.
has scored through 24 games have scored more goals than they did at this time last season when they were considered and also in first place,
right?
And they were also considered to be high flying, high scoring Arsenal. This season or last season, which Arsenal team has conceded less goals?
That's a hard one too because they've been. We've said it a million times. They've objectively been one of the best defenses this season.
It's got to be this season.
This season. They have conceded less goals.
Okay.
And they have scored more goals than Arsenal last season. It's just, I think, until I saw that stat today, and I was like, that's wild. I would have never thought that. And yes, the last few games, they had 5 against Palace. They had 6 against West Ham. Yeah. So that's going to help balance things out. But look, let's just call a spade a spade. Ever since they got back from Dubai, they've been pretty good. They've been really good.
I did see that just because of the players they're getting back, just because of, I think the injury situation is brightening for them. Plus, getting Tomiyasu back. The answer to the question for defender was Kivior last week. So it was not Tomiyasu, not fit yet, but available, I think, for selection.
And Kivior played great.
Right. Again, another good choice. I don't know if you had him or not, but I wouldn't be going toward him, I guess.
No, but it is. Look, 3 of the top 5 defenders are Arsenal defenders.
Yeah.
Ben White's top 5.
Ben White was pretty high up there.
Well, he and Porro, in fairness, Porro tied for 5th. So
yeah. There's not a whole lot to say about. I mean, if you want to go to the West Ham side of it, the way I was thinking of this week was more like who doubles, who are the plus, kind of in like plus, neutral, and negative matchups for like the single game week people.
Yeah.
West Ham, I would just say they're kind of. I guess it's more neutral just because of the opponent. Like I know it's like I guess what I'm saying for West Ham would be they haven't won a game in the Premier League yet in 2024. That's not good. It was the lack of effort, I think, that was the worst thing from what I could tell from West Ham fans. Was it just like a lackluster, like, you have pundits, talking about how poor just the performance was, but but on the effort side of it, James Ward-Prowse saying like, I have no words, like, we're not like this isn't us kind of thing. Everybody kind of coming away from that, kind of saying that same thing. I guess they're playing Nottingham Forest. They're at Nottingham Forest this week, which has not been, again, not an easy place to go to. And stats per Fantasy Football Fix, which is where most of all the stats that we're getting from this podcast. That's
amazing,
coming from that website. Plug them again. Fantasy Football Fix. West Ham have conceded 12 goals in the last 6 game weeks. It's the 13th worst of any team. Their expected goals conceded in the last 6 games is 2.34, which is 19th. There's a team worse than them. And it's a team that you could probably guess given the amount of goals they've conceded recently, but West Ham has been basically the second worst defense for the last 6 weeks.
Wow.
So like for West Ham, like you're not bringing in, like, I still have Bowen in my team. You still have Bowen in your team.
As of right now,
we're both losing, and there might be a 1-to-1 correlation there.
Yeah.
Bowen is a sell based on the type of performances West Ham is going. The thing is, West Ham is about to be, I think, they're on the ascendancy, I think, by selection, because one, the schedule is easing up, I would say, maybe not easing up. It's real good. Like this, they were in a bad stretch here. They're about to go on a run of matches that's, I would say, very good. And then, they've got matches in game weeks where there are blanks for just about everybody else. So West Ham is about to go on a like, out of all, like, after all of this like dismal performance and sells and everything, Bowen could be back as a selection. Paquetá was already, like, they were talking about how he was already close, if not for this week or last week, then for this week. So that we
didn't even make them bench for game week 24
already, but that's something that was like, they're not obviously not going to rush him back after an injury. Michail Antonio getting closer. Like what I'm saying is they are getting back to more like what they, kind of the peak of what they have available.
Yeah.
At a time when they're about to go on a run of matches that I would say is good. So that's the hard thing. Like, sell, if you're choosing someone this week, if, like, for me, like, I think I can make the money work pretty easily, where if it's Bowen or Jota, like, come on, that's not even a consideration.
Yeah.
If it's Bowen,
especially because it's double,
honestly, like, just on a -4 or whatever, if your choice was between Jared Bowen or Doku, like, I'd probably take the upside of the City guy. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like it's not this week. It's not the kind of matchup for West Ham where you're like, oh, I got to play Areola. He's got Nottingham Forest, and that's a green matchup right there. Like, it's not.
Forest looked good.
Right.
They lost terribly, but they looked really good offensively.
Anyway, that's the end of Nottingham Forest. Well, at least for West Ham and Arsenal.
West Ham, Arsenal. All right,
yeah.
Very good. Let's move right to Spurs 2, Brighton 1. We've already mentioned multiple Brighton players, Bargains and Van Hecke. Are we sure Tariq Lampkey is going to continue to start?
No.
Okay, but we are pretty sure about Van Hecke.
He's started, I think.
Van Hecke at a 4-0, right?
Yeah, what did we say? What did we say last week?
And Tariq Lamptey in the last 4 match weeks finally got his first start against Tottenham this past week.
Van Hecke has started every match for Brighton since game week 11.
Okay,
and that was true weeks ago.
Right. So, all right, just wanted to throw that out there. Pascal Gross
scores a penalty.
He's still doing things, Travis.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think it's worth a consideration. He's kind of expensive. when you look at guys like Pedro Neto, who's 5'5".
Everybody was trying to get in, I think, on this run of matches for Brighton, and
he's the only one that performed during it.
Kind of yeah, that's the thing. Like everyone jumped on a Estupiñán, because everyone is sheep, but he was good. I mean, he had some performances where I was like, oh man, this like kind of popping off the screen, and then goes back to the bench, and then they kind of stink again. But whatever. Where now he's I think Estupiñán, I don't know if you have him, how you don't see him as an expendable.
Oh, I'm trying to get rid of him immediately.
So, no, but Pascal Gross, like you like it because he's playing. They're playing Sheffield, so that's why this week I think it's a huge plus matchup for them because they're playing at home against, I don't know what you call Sheffield after one good performance. You know what I mean? It's still Sheffield, still bottom of the near certainty relegation candidate, Sheffield United. So Matoma's back. 90 minutes for Matoma. Did what Matoma had been doing a lot this season. Took one shot, created one chance, touched the ball in the box a lot, and got 2 points. So, Pascal Gross bails you out if you had him with the penalty, but that's why that was part of the appeal of him is that he's taking penalties. Joao Pedro's injured, so there is no Joao Pedro to take that from him. Yeah, I mean, this is a team where I'm like, I don't know what to say other than Van Hecke is a great enabler. Dunk will get some headed goals for you probably over if you have him all season. That's too expensive. You're not going to him.
Yeah.
And right now I just think like, what are you going to do? Get Danny Welbeck? You're not doing it. They had 6 total shots against Tottenham. They created 3 total chances against Tottenham. And they still almost got away with a draw. So
Gross and Van Hecke are probably the only Brighton assets that are worth considering at this point. But even then, I mean, Van Hecke is really only worth considering because he's a 4-0.
It's because he's 4-0, right?
And that's where I say I think Pascal Gross is just too expensive. I have Pedro Neto in my team, and I think I would rather have him than Pascal Gross because it enables me to have Salah and make some other moves in the midfield.
For sure.
Pascal Gross, ownership, you think it's over 10%?
No.
Ryan?
I don't know. Might be. Because of what the last few weeks.
5.7.
That's low.
It's lower than I would have expected.
I think it's because, if you have him, you're happy to hold him for. It's at Sheffield, home Everton, at Fulham, home Nottingham Forest.
That's great.
So the next four matches are
Spurs. Is Sonny back?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, he's back.
Yeah.
Took him 27 minutes to get an assist.
Is he back? Is he starting next match?
Yeah, he's back.
I think so. Yeah.
Does that affect Richarlison?
Yeah, it helps Richarlison.
Makes him better.
It makes Richarlison better. Yeah.
Okay. But after this next match week, they blank. Spurs blank in
26. So this week, at least they get Wolves at home. What happened to reverse fixture? So away to Wolves, they lost 2-1. I think that was game week 12. They were in that bad run. They had just gotten smoked by Chelsea. So they were down 2 people. They had 2 red cards in that game. So they were down Romero. They were down. Bentancur, I think, got hurt in that game. Somebody else was red carded. Who else? Who was the other red card? Udogie. I think it was Udogie red and a Romero red. And I think they also was that the game where they also lost that Wolves game. Spurs lost Van de Ven. Something. I mean, it was all bad. Whatever it was, it was all bad against Chelsea. Then they go to Wolves and they still, kind of valiant effort, and then they lost to Villa the week after that. So, no, I think this is a different. I mean, obviously different vibes. Spurs team. Sonny is back. Yes, for sure.
All right.
That's the. I mean, you're not. That's the thing. You can't think about getting him until game week 27.
I'm not going to ask the question because I don't think we can answer it. But the fact that Pedro Porro has done nothing since I've owned him is just infuriating.
Oh no, I know. I would be mad too. I was mad enough that I sold him. Spurs after the blank, home to Crystal Palace, at Aston Villa, which I can't wait to talk about. At Aston Villa, it's red. It's a red matchup on here. It is not red in real life. So FPL
right now.
matchup rating system, no, and I would say rest of the season, and there's reasons for that. Aston Villa
He's got
lost
stats.
No, Aston Villa lost maybe lost Konza for the season, and their injury to Kamara, defensive midfielder Kamara,
Boubacar Kamara.
is
It's a big deal.
it's bad enough. We'll talk about it at Villa. Either way, they
Not
play,
as bad as losing Douglas Luiz, but
it might be worse.
Wow.
Home to Crystal. So what I'm saying is Spurs are home to Palace in 27, at Villa in 28, at Fulham 29, home to Luton in 30, at West Ham 31, home Nottingham Forest 32. So to me, after the blank in 26, this is why I think going in like after 26, where you're like, now I think I might want to reshape my team. This is why I want to reconsider, like, maybe this is why you'd reconsider Son after that. You're not doing it now, but just I think there's a lot good for Spurs after the blank.
All right, Travis, your second favorite team, Manchester United 2, Villa 1. Brian, here's your villain talk.
He's always saying that.
I know. Rasmus Højlund, Brian.
What a hilarious, like, posturing nonsense game. Like
What do you mean?
just that did you see it? Did you
Yeah,
see? You saw Douglas Luiz kick the penalty, and he's shimmy, and he's doing the shake,
He's fired up.
and then Højlund counting the goals on his finger and having a dust up there on the side as he's running off because the Aston Villa players are mad or whatever. And then afterwards, Unai Emery saying, like, and I think every Aston Villa fan saying, like, we dominated that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not only how are we not winning this game, and then beyond that, how did we lose it?
Well,
Unai Emery said it was the best performance other than their performance against City.
Wow.
That's how he characterized their
Their possession was 56%. They had double the shots on target, and they had not as many shots. Well, they had more shots, but not double. Villa had 23 shots to United 17. 10 shots on target, Villa. 5 shots on target, United. So it probably did feel like a little bit of a domination.
Yeah.
But the scoreline, Brian, the one stat
that's what matters.
that means a little bit more. I think for this podcast, we need to discuss Rasmus Højlund, Brian, if that's even how you say his name. I am right now requesting a how to say on Rasmus Højlund. I'm not sure we've had one this year.
Okay, I'll find it.
But I wonder if that
You're
number
not
one.
asking
I
me
would
to do
like
it
to.
now, right?
No,
I'm not looking
no,
it up.
it's impossible.
Okay.
I can tell you what it is. I have an O/
No.
my name. We don't use it.
Let's just stop. Stop with your Norse connection and just
He's
chill.
Danish. I know what he has.
It's Norse Danes. That's all the same.
Jada.
Oh, okay. Very, very well. All right. He's played in the last 5 of last 6. Wow. Højlund has played in the last 5 of 6 United matches in the Premier League. There's one game he didn't play. These are his scores: 7, 11, 10, 8, 6.
Yeah, he scored again this week on what? What did he have? 1 shot on target again?
Basically.
He did it
doesn't
again.
matter.
No, I know. That's
right?
what I'm saying.
It's not
He had a few
mattering.
shots.
I'm saying it's he went.
He's Aubameyanging here.
Well, he
It's
went like it's the flip for his season. He went 15 games or whatever it was and scored nothing and came close.
And he's shooting a
didn't
lot.
do it, shooting a lot and not scoring. And now
Now he
all of a
shoots
sudden,
little
he's
and
shooting.
scores.
Yeah, he's got what 5 or 6 goals in 5 goals in 6 games on like 7 shots on target.
And in 2 of those games, he had assists.
Right. His scores are awesome.
Goals
and
and
he did it
assists.
again, and there's nothing you can do about it because he is. So either you got on
All
it.
right, well, so he's 7-1.
Yeah.
Would you rather have him or Dominic Solanke?
That's what I'm saying. I just think
Solanke.
you're still like
I'm not, Travis. I'm riding the hot train.
so
I think you're probably right, but I'd rather have Solanke just because I won't own him.
Solanke is going to be like I think
prejudice.
everyone is going to be building up to Solanke anyway
He's
because
double.
Bournemouth doubles in 28. So regardless of who's getting the perform. Not only that, Bournemouth's schedule at Newcastle this week. Newcastle is the worst defense. They are worse than West Ham in the last 6 game weeks. Newcastle defensively has been worse.
They're missing Joe Linton big time.
Huge.
For sure, but they were already, and I saw somebody say this. I would love to source
I
it.
love owning Dubravka right now.
No, it's awful, and that's why it's hilarious that Areola Dubravka is such a common. Those are my goalkeepers. I'm sure
they're my goalkeepers.
Right, it's common just because of their price. They're common goalkeepers. The goalkeepers for the 2 worst defenses in the league. Newcastle was not great defensively at the end of the fall. Like going into the winter months, they're already
better at home, and it is a home match
for sure. And they were already getting worse when Joe Linton was still kind of out there. So either way, he's not there now, and it's still like defensively, it's just been really poor. So like Bournemouth at Newcastle, that's not. I mean, it's for sure. Newcastle tougher.
Are they going to win?
Right, tougher.
Probably not.
Tougher
Is he
at
going to
home.
score? Probably.
And then they're home to Manchester City. Yeah, you don't love that. Nobody loves that.
But
lots of benching for Dominic Solanke in game week 26.
Sure. But game week 27.
And then game week 27 to 32 at least. You love it.
Yeah, right.
Every game you love.
He doubles up at home to Sheffield and Luton.
So that's
his double game week.
So that's the discussion
in 28.
That's the discussion for people like you want to go rogue on your triple captain? You want to pick a differential triple captain?
That could be a good one.
Captain Haaland this week. Save your triple captain for Dominic Solanke home against Sheffield, home against Luton in game week 28. It's not insane. He's been awesome this season.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
and they don't have anybody else that can play, so he's gonna start both matches.
Right. Barring injury,
and they need the points, so they're going for it against the people that they're competing against to get out of relegation. Like 100%, I agree with that. I 100% agree with that.
I would just say minimum. Yeah, you want to go crazy. You want to save your triple captain for somebody other than Haaland. Sure, game week 28 is a consideration, but I'm just saying you're asking about Haaland compared to Solanke.
Right. So
this is why I'm going to find it really hard to get rid of Solanke without wild carding. And even if I was wild carding, Solanke would be going out for 2 weeks.
But that's okay.
That's the most that it would be.
That's okay, because Haaland for the next 2 weeks is Luton away, Fulham at home, and then you could bring Solanke back for game week 27 away at Burnley,
Dave,
which I think is fine. So if you wanted to do that, more power to you. 2 weeks, he's more expensive. Even if Solanke goes up, you should still be able to move to him. It'll probably be fine. So if that's the route you want to run, more power to you. I think that's not unreasonable. The matchups look great, and you got Solanke for 27 through 32 basically, which is fantastic.
Dave, the people have spoken. Haaland is the third most transferred in for forwards, and Solanke keeps dropping in price. So it's not selling Solanke for someone, whether that's for Haaland or not. People are dropping Solanke
the
every
move.
week. Solanke got a return this week. That's the thing.
I know.
So it wasn't
but
like
Haaland has been on fire.
Right. And it's
the roof is on fire.
He has definitely been on fire. And Manchester United, that's why I was going to say even this week, Manchester United, I think it's a minus matchup for them because they're at Luton.
Mm-hmm.
So we've already said at Kenilworth Road has proven to be tricky for lots of people this season. So does that mean that this form, this every shot going in Manchester United is going to go to Luton and dominate? I don't know. They weren't really. I mean, they won the game against Villa in a game where the stats and Villa themselves are insisting that it was their performance that was the dominant one. So I don't know. It's hard. It's just Manchester United's still a tough team to read, but yeah, Haaland he's just doing it. He's hard to ignore. Garnacho's still hard to ignore, even though he didn't get a return this week.
I was going to ask about Garnacho because he's 4-9.
Right. How can
anyone trying to bring Salah in right now, Garnacho is absolutely an option. And yes, he did not point this week. And I will also say, as I'm actually looking at this, old Declan Rice is just there at a 5-4. And if you need to make some money, I'd probably rather own Garnacho than Rice. But that's something to consider. I'm looking at it right now, and I'm like, do I want Garnacho and Salah or Jota and Richarlison? And I think Salah's weight is pretty heavy. I mean, his price comes with it. You guys seem to be pretty confident that he's playing, and so I'm going to probably make some moves to try to make sure that happens.
And I really hope it goes poorly for you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm picking up on that.
On the Villa side of the match for Manchester United and Aston Villa, there's no need to. I don't think there's any. You don't need to sell anybody on Ollie Watkins or Douglas Luiz. I mean, you know what they're doing. Leon Bailey got his third straight return. He's got a 4, a 7, and a 5 in the last 3 games. He's got 4 returns in his last 5 game weeks. I still think Leon Bailey is. He's that same kind of like. I don't know how you're fitting him in your midfield, but it's not. Yeah. It's not insane.
Leon,
he's too expensive, and he doesn't ever go the distance in terms of minutes.
That's the thing. Like you could name. I'm sure if you were like money is no object, you'd name 20 people before you name Leon Bailey as like that's my pick. So probably. Just want to point it out. I mean, he's still well, he's playing well. Yeah. For what it's worth. FPL Villain, who we've referenced on this podcast before, awesome source for villain news. A bit of hyperbole from him today. Said, kind of semi-jokingly, the season is over. It's been fun. He said that because they just lost Boubacar Kamara and possibly Ezri Konsa for the season. They definitely lost Kamara for the season. Konsa's injury is yet to be, I think it's still TBD on how serious it is, but he's out. He's out for some time. Someone replying to him compared it to as if it's like losing. It would be like losing Rodri and Saliba if you were losing 2 players of kind of like losing 2 players of that quality in your midfield and defense. So I know that for FPL Villain, and I know for other Aston Villa fans, that seems to be the general feeling. Like this is not good. Like defensively, they're already shaky. It's not like Aston Villa has been some kind of fortress. Like they had, like after their games against City and Arsenal, those were performances of their lives. It's not like they've had this massive run of clean sheets and everybody's rushing out to get all of their defenders or whatever. I think Alex Moreno has had one standout performance, but that was because he scored a goal. And Luka Dean is back, and even for FPL Villain and some other Aston Villa sources, this is like you can't go to any of these guys now because, again, we talked about it. I think it was pretty obvious if you watched Aston Villa. Dean was really good when he played, and Moreno has been fine. So I think
he scored and Dean couldn't.
But I think Dean's overall defensive performance, I think what he offered comprehensively,
defensive stability is definitely
it was better than what Moreno has given so far. And whether that's still like just the slow recovery from a long-term injury or whatever for Moreno, doesn't matter. All of that to say,
you're just making excuses for him.
I just love him so much. I don't want it to sound like there's not something like I still.
He might hear it. He might hear it.
No, but I'm just saying, like,
might get back to him
defensively. Like to me, this puts it just puts more pressure on them. They've been very good.
Yeah,
it's just that now, like Aston Villa, and this is a week where I'd say it's a huge plus matchup for them. They're playing. They're home to Fulham.
Right.
So it's out at least 3 to 4 weeks, more or less, says Unai Emery. It is a knee sprain.
So I think Pau Torres we talked about him weeks ago. I think Pau Torres was on the bench. Like he's
healthy. Yeah.
They have guys. I mean, it's not like it's nothing. I think Longley, I think he was one. He's started a ton of matches here, or a bunch in a row. He's 4-5, so he'd be one of those guys where it's like
Longley and
if you needed the room or whatever, and you wanted to take a chance on an Aston Villa defender, to me, I don't know why you would, given all the news that's out there. Whatever, like he's one of those guys that would be interesting. But yeah, like. To me, like Ollie Watkins has been such a sell for everybody. This week didn't help. He was okay. Villa he got no return, but still, like,
okay is maybe generous.
The point is, like, I think he was one of those guys that was like he was the guy that I needed to sacrifice for Haaland. And I'm sure plenty of people had that same dilemma between him and Darwin. Like, are you taking like this week? If it's a decision between you playing Darwin or playing Ollie Watkins. Darwin. What are you doing? Of course you're taking Darwin. So,
all right, very good. Now I'm gonna blast through. We got about 5 matches we haven't covered, so it's gonna be rapid fire. Pick your shot. Some of these teams are not worth discussing. Some are. Okay, Fulham 3, Bournemouth 1, Sheffield 3, Luton 1, Brentford 2, Wolves 0, and Chelsea 3, Palace 1.
You love not talking about them.
Well, it's Cole Palmer and no one else. So
absolutely. And Chelsea is playing at Manchester City as their single game this week.
Right. So Wolves, Chelsea's a non-factor this week.
You have Cole Palmer. Are you playing him?
Interesting. I haven't actually I haven't created my starting lineup yet. So I'm in the process of possibly making transfers on the pod transfers. So
I got distracted for like 10 minutes there because I was gonna do the same thing. I was maybe even gonna wild card.
I'm trying to make moves. So I think Wolves. I want to throw this in there. Cunha seems like he's gonna be out for a little while, which is a shame. And then Hwang is back, although I don't think he's fit and ready.
He had a calf issue, so he was not ready to play. But yeah, Cunha. I mean, sorry to everyone who has him. I mean, he pulls a hammy at 19 minutes. Perfect tease from 2 weeks ago to get roasted against Brentford at home, of all places, where they've been extremely good. No, I don't. I mean, if you have Neto, it's fine.
I think Hwang will be back, and so Hwang and Neto should be fine. That was what we have said so many times.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be
agree
right.
completely.
Yeah, I don't think you're doing anything else. Obviously, can't bring in Cunha. So Chelsea, it's whether or not you're keeping Cole Palmer. I think if it was a decision like on wild card or whatever, if you're truly changing your team up a ton this week to try to maximize, he is somebody that if you wanted to, you could move on. Just because not only Manchester, they're away to City in their one game this week, but Chelsea has a blank in 26. So yeah, if you wanted,
it just depends on when you brought him in. If you get rid of him,
right?
Because his price has changed significantly.
Yeah, it would be more of just strategically. What do you want to, is your plan to get him back again after that? Which I think you would want to do that.
Fun stat here. This is kind of silly, but Scott McTominay been subbing on. He started most matches, and in the last 6 match weeks, he's subbed on. In the last 3, he goes 6-4-6 with 2 goals and 1 assist. And then sub on appearances. He's like their late game, we need a goal guy right now. And that's just funny to me. But if you would have started him fantasy wise at a 4-6, getting that production out of a 4-6, you'd love it
Yeah.
Anyways, we're not even talking about them. We have moved on from United.
Yeah.
You did.
So Everton and Crystal Palace
and Chelsea.
Crystal Palace and Chelsea. There's nothing with Crystal Palace.
No.
Crystal Palace.
All their guys are
honestly, though, Crystal Palace defended Chelsea pretty well because it was 1-1, and I think they defended well. It was the end. They give up 2 kind of crap goals
in extra time. Both of them in extra time.
This week, I mean, because Crystal Palace is at Everton, I mean, both of those teams are struggling. They both need points.
I forgot.
It's just that the advantage is to Everton because Eze still definitely out. Mark Gahey still definitely out. Roy Hodgson says both of them are hoping to play before the end of the month.
That's not good.
So, I mean, huge advantage. I think advantage Everton. But this week you would have said, like, struggling Chelsea. playing, at Selhurst
Yeah.
Park. They, Crystal Palace gets the first goal. I mean, who knows? I just think they have it in them. It's just this is just too struggling.
I know. I listen real quick. I'm throwing it in there. I forgot to mention Newcastle 3, Forest 2. A fantastic, fun game to
was a
watch.
good
this
match
weekend.
to watch.
Anyways,
I enjoyed that one.
I left that out, not on purpose.
So Newcastle is one of the teams, Dave. I said worst defense in the league for 6 weeks.
Right. But
17 goals
but
conceded.
a defense that overall, at least 4 guys, is probably owned the most
Yeah, for sure.
collectively as a defense.
Tons, like the number of people who had Fabian Schär.
Yep.
After his huge game, and then he goes 0 and then scores again. Like Trippier's huge. I mean, I have Trippier. I have Dubravka. 17 goals conceded in the last 6 game weeks for Newcastle. By far the worst. They're 20th
bizarre.
in the league. 2.99 expected goals conceded in the last 6 game weeks. Both goals conceded and fantasy expected goals, they're worst. It's a fair question to ask, especially if for us who have, or anyone, the myriad people who have Dubravka and Areola, would you sell one of them for a doubling goalkeeper? I mean, if you're picking, I mean, you're picking whoever. Like you're picking anybody who's playing twice. You're gonna outscore one of those guys. I don't think Newcastle's keeping a clean sheet against Bournemouth. They might. I don't know. I can't. I'm not. Why would you? Why would you predict something like that? Anyway,
This guy.
it's a fair question. I just think that's Newcastle is that's one of those teams. Like this week, on paper, it's fine. I just don't know what you do with them.
Yeah.
They're just so banged up. You can ignore Sheffield. I think you're not doing anything with Sheffield United. There's still a defense and a team to target in every possible way.
Yeah.
One thing for Fulham, Dave, just that Muniz, the forward who scored, he scores back-to-back goals for Muniz, 4.4. He's only
for Frankie Muniz.
Frankie Muniz.
Malcolm in the middle.
He's he's played 73 minutes, 74 minutes in the last 2 weeks, 21 points in the last 2 game weeks. That's the number one scoring forward in the last 2 weeks. That doesn't mean a lot. Anybody can be the number one scorer in back-to-back game weeks or whatever. But he's taken a decent number of shots, and just that he's getting the run while Raul Jimenez is out. So Fulham, like this week, it's who do we say that Fulham is? Fulham is.
I thought they were playing.
Villa. They're
yeah.
Villa United.
So they're at
Right.
Villa. Whatever. I mean, it's not. That's a forward who's 4.4.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And he's playing probably more. Well, I don't know. I can't say that necessarily than Cameron Archer, who's the cheapest possible guy.
Who
But
did score this week.
you'd rather have that as an attacker.
Probably. We glazed over that Luton-Sheffield match because what a snoozer. But Luton does have 2 doubles and no blanks.
Right.
Other than Dowdy.
Well, so I was going to
Is
say.
there anybody else that you're looking at?
I was going to say for Luton and Brentford are both definitely worth talking about, just because one they are the other doubling teams this week, and even though the matchups are worse for them. Dowdy's everyone's going nuts. Dowdy created 9 chances this week. That was the most of anybody. He hadn't blanked since game week 16 going into this match, and had 9 chances created in a game where you think, like, how did
He's
he not?
going to be great for City next year.
How did he not get a bonus point? You think that? No way.
Chelsea.
Yeah, maybe. Defenders for the season, he's 11th, tied for 11th in overall points. He's taken a decent number of shots. He's got a goal. Fine, whatever. You're not buying him for shots and goals. 52 touches in the box, which is 3rd. He has 7 assists, which is 3rd to Porro and Trippier, and he's created 47 chances, which is 3rd behind Trippier and Trent. So, yeah, did you get him? Do you have Doughty in your team? There's a reason why anyone that has, if you had gone to him, I mean, I'm not saying it's not any kind of big bonus for me that I did get him weeks ago, but he's 4.6. Even now,
Right.
like with 2 matches, you definitely like the home against Manchester United more than you like at Liverpool, but he's one of those guys.
City?
No, they're at Liverpool. Luton is home to Manchester United, and then they're at Liverpool in the next 2 weeks.
I thought it was City.
City
It
gets
is
Chelsea
United.
and
I'm wrong. You
City
are right.
gets Chelsea
I'm
and
dumb.
Brentford.
You're smart.
26, they blank, and then yeah, like 28, they're one of the doubling teams. They have
Crystal Palace and Bournemouth.
right. So anyway, but no, and Adebayo and Carlton Morris. I mean, they're
So I was just looking at Morris at a 5-1.
both guys are cheap forward options. And I think because they're forwards for Luton, I feel like you kind of know what you're getting here.
Morris in the last 6 match weeks, 7-1, 7-5, 11-5.
Yeah.
That is freaking good.
So this game week, for example,
5-1
like
is.
Morris takes the penalty.
Yeah.
So he scored a penalty this week. So that's where his goal came from this week. But even this game week, Adebayo took 4 shots, Morris took 2. Adebayo had all 4 of his shots in the box. Morris took 1. Like the non-penalty XG for the 2 of them, it's massively in Adebayo's favor, even for the season. And he's Adebayo's minutes. He's played 400 fewer minutes.
Just getting ready to say he's not even getting a lot of opportunity.
But he's been playing more recently, and so Adebayo now, like he has, he has 9 goals this season. Carlton Morris has 6, and Morris has 4 of his 6 goals are penalties. So yeah, you like the penalties, but Adebayo I think is 4.9.
Yeah.
I think he's still cheaper. Based on the numbers, like the numbers are skewed in favor of Adebayo. Just I think overall, just for price but it's the penalties that are going to sway it. So if you wanted Morris, you're doing it because he takes penalties for Luton. I don't think either guy is a bad. I mean, they're an option. They're
Okay.
not like the greatest option. Brentford is the question because Tony, like Ivan Toney, is an obvious like.
Yeah.
What can't he do against whoever? I mean, I don't think it matters that they're playing Manchester City. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So what? I mean, that would almost like, and they have Neil Maupay on the team, who's like going to start whatever he can with whoever he can. So,
That's the truth.
so Ivan Toney or Neil Maupay, just like since Ivan Toney came back in game week 21, Tony's got 26 points and Maupay's got 20. So like
Something's working.
it's a massive price difference between Tony and Neil Maupay. I'm just saying it's 4.9 for Neil Maupay. Both have scored 3 goals. Both guys have scored 3 goals.
I'm so glad we have this on video.
It's amazing.
Maupay's taken
This guy's
8
gonna
shots
fall
to
asleep
Ivan
over
Toney's 10. Both guys have 6 shots on target each. So
That's
this
wild.
isn't like Tony's just blowing him away, and
It's closer than you
the
think.
points are decently close. The numbers are decently close. Of course, Ivan Toney's going to take penalties.
Right.
And he scored a
Although
set.
he hasn't
scored,
taken any.
but he scored a set piece goal.
Haven't gotten any.
I
So
know. You're right. You got to draw.
They got them all in the
gotta
first half, the early part of the season.
Better
And Mbeumo was
podcast.
getting all of them.
Better podcast
Yes.
weeks ago told you to get Sergio Reguilon, who
It's been better than
well this
thought.
week he goes for 12 points.
Ugh.
So as a 4.4 defender, Reguilon, if you went to Reguilon, you did it because again somebody better than me
Man.
or us told you guys to do it. He got an assist, got the clean sheet, got all the bonus points. His attacking stats is weird because the last 2 game weeks, because that's when he started, when they got him on loan from Tottenham.
Okay.
His attacking stats are nothing. Like he's taken a shot, he's created 2 chances, 0 big chances. He's been in the box twice, touched the ball in the box 2 times.
Okay.
Defensively, he's top 10 in every defense, like number 1 in tackles, 6th in recoveries, 8th for clearances, 4th in interceptions. Like he's doing all the defensive work. So like for the price, I think you consider him, but the double's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just seems like if you're getting him, you're doing it, one, because he's really cheap, and two, in game week 29, Brentford play in a game week where tons of teams likely are going to blank,
Right.
and Reguilon and Brentford play. One of the games they play at Burnley. So,
Good matchup.
Yeah, I mean if you're getting him because he's cheap and it's a longer term hold.
Gotcha.
What are you doing here? Like, you're triple captaining. If you're going with the crowd, you're triple captaining this week with Haaland.
Right. I'm trying to sort all that in my sleepy state. I'm trying to sort all of that as this day is like the day that never ends.
But next week, like, Luton, Liverpool, Tottenham, Chelsea, blank. So as
Luton, Liverpool, Tottenham, Chelsea.
Right. So for me,
I might just like it in my current state. It's free. It's just free hit. I have no option but to free hit possibly next week. If I make the moves to bring in Salah this week,
right,
and then
that's it.
Because what I was trying to do is, how do I do it? If I send Solanke out, it creates a lot more money. If I send Solanke and Pedro Porro out, I'm able to make some Salah money and only take a -4. I feel like that's a win. So, but the problem is now I have 2 Luton guys. I'll have one Spur. I will have 2 Liverpool guys.
right.
And so now it's like, okay, well, and I have 1 Chelsea guy. So we're talking about like 5 or 6 guys.
And this is, I think, why, like, if you're not wild carding, like right now for me, I have 9. I think
you can start 9 next week.
Right. I think
Wow.
because I'd be down Cole Palmer. I'm down Palmer. I'm down. It's Palmer, Richarlison, Doty, and Palmer, Richarlison, Doty, and
All right.
Trent, while he's in my team, but Trent is probably going out of my team. What I'm saying is that's 4 guys.
Right.
So I could field, I guess, 10. So what I'm saying is, because I have Joel Pedro, who's a red triangle for me. So what I'm saying is, like, that's a ton of players. So this is exactly why, to go back to the earliest part of the discussion, if you're deciding between De Bruyne and Salah, like, you can't free hit 26. You can't do it. Like 29, right now the possibility of blanks is 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 teams could blank. And this is I would just say, again, huge credit and shout out to Ben Krellen and the people who keep track of the possibilities of this. He has a breakdown of the possibilities of why teams would blank and which teams will blank in 29.
Based on cups and other things.
Right. I would say near certainty, Brighton City is not happening because
in match week 29.
In match week 29, Brighton and City nearly certainly will not happen because Brighton would have to beat Wolves or City beats Luton in the FA Cup. So one of those 2 things is happening. City's probably beaten Luton.
Right.
Game's not happening. Everton is playing against Liverpool, so that match blanks if Liverpool beats Southampton in the FA Cup. Is that happening?
Likely.
Probably. This is an improved Southampton that's competing well. I think that was some talk about, just like
it's at home
as
well for
Liverpool.
Liverpool.
Could they? So. Maybe, but probably not. So it's a high likelihood that game's not happening. Wolves and Bournemouth. If Wolves beat Brighton or if Bournemouth beats Leicester in the FA Cup, that's all that needs to happen for that match to not happen.
Bournemouth beating that's a
so
tight
Bournemouth
match.
Leicester. That's exactly
That's
it.
a good matchup.
Bournemouth may not beat Leicester, so who knows? We'll see. Wolves may or may not beat Brighton. Who knows? So that game, like, I feel like that's more of a toss-up. Whatever. Arsenal would play Chelsea in game week 29. If Chelsea beats Leeds in the
Another
FA
good
Cup,
matchup.
can Leeds beat this Chelsea team? Sure. Why not? But Chelsea should win. Arsenal and Chelsea may or may not happen in game week 29. So like there are way too many but this is the thing. You'll know this in 3 weeks. So that's the thing. Like
we just don't know now. Yeah.
Minimum though, you're losing these are all pretty key teams. Like you're not going to be able to build a starting 11 out of West Ham, Villa, Fulham, Spurs, Burnley, and Brentford. Everyone is going to have a problem in 29. So if 29 ends up being a huge blank game week,
but people in my situation, so if I play for the double this week,
right,
and kind of go for it, maybe even take a hit, so I'll make 3 transfers to max out on the double here. I will have almost zero option next week to free hit, and I'm just going to push papers down the road and see what happens when 29 gets
pretty
here.
much. Yeah, and just hope that some of these
results don't happen.
Right.
I just don't know how. I don't think I'm going to have an option because I think a lot of other people. But I mean, the only way that you're able to survive 26 is if you don't try to max out and go for this double match week at 25.
I guess is
that right? You can't do both.
No, you can't. There's
without chips.
Without chips,
there's just no way because the teams that you'd have to because of the teams you have to rely on. So you have to rely on Brentford because Brentford plays Burnley in 29. So that means you'd be getting either you're using transfers between now and 29. You are getting Reguilon. You are putting Neil Maupay in or whatever. Because that's cheap. Those are cheap guys that can get you to some of the other key players that you need. Villa, I mean, other than Ollie Watkins, I'm not sure really what you're doing with any Aston Villa players. Burnley, you're not touching anyone from Burnley. Although I think, isn't Charlie Taylor a darling for everybody just because he's the same thing?
Now.
He's back in training.
Okay.
So he's one of those guys because he's cheap, he's an enabler. He was on the bench for a ton of people, throughout the season, whatever. Fulham, again, I don't know. Are you really moving to Willian? The numbers are good for people, for someone like him. You can look at some of these guys, but are you really doing that? So that's why I'm saying, by the time you get to 29 for West Ham, you have Paqueta back, probably have Antonio back.
Right.
Even in the next 2 weeks, you have Brentford, Everton. By the time you get to West Ham home against Burnley in 28, tell me why that's bad. They've got spirit. Yes, they do. They can figure it out.
I like this.
So what I'm saying is and then Tottenham, again, after the blank in 26, I think, you're moving. You are trying to get back into Spurs. If you got rid of them or whatever, if you sold Richarlison to bring in somebody for this double or whatever, you're getting back into Spurs in game week 27, at least one, if not, maxing out on them. I'm just saying, if you want to push it way down the road, this is why, so the strategy, you free hit. This is something that Pross, FPL pundit Pross said about just the math of, say, free hitting. So you free hit in a blank game week where not everyone is going to do that. And you're free hitting, 5 players in?
Mm-hmm.
If you free hit in, say, game week 34, where half the league is doubling, you're free hitting in what would be the equivalent of 10 players.
Right.
So the score difference...
If only Scott could hear this, because this is what I was been arguing for ages.
Right. It's the reason why for all those years, the argument of double game week and why everyone went after them, yes, of course, a single game week player can outperform a double game week player. That happens. However, you're never not captaining a double game week player if you can help it. Of course you want a guy playing 2 times and not once.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that is one of the big considerations of the common strategies, the ones that are out there. You're triple captaining in 25 probably just because Haaland is the most popular player, the highest ceiling, and he's got good matchups at home in the here and now, like you said. Do you really want to take the chance on triple captaining Solanke over Haaland? Like just
right
in a vacuum, Are you going to ever do that? You'll never do that. But it can work.
Yeah.
So that was another just the general strategy of like, hey, everyone's going to triple, like anyone who has it likely is going to captain this guy this game week. So if you regular captain, depending on like what's the gap, what's the point gap there, right? Like you may lose if he goes for a 13, you're 13 points behind the triple captain people, right? So if you hit on your captain, like a triple captain later in the season on someone that's low owned, you can gain a massive amount of points on the field.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the strategy of like, are you in the top 50,000? Are you leading your mini league or whatever? Right. And you really want to win it? You probably just have to just do what the crowd does. You probably have just to maintain, right? But if you're chasing, why not push it down the road? Like, why not wait for? Hey, what if Liverpool do have a double or triple? Like that was the talk. Is could Liverpool have a triple game week
later
because
on.
of the way because of the way the cup games kind of spill out? So, yeah, of course you'd way rather use it that week than on a normal week, whatever. And then the question of of course you want to bench boost I think you want to bench boost one of the huge remaining double game weeks. I don't know how you don't try to do that. And so whether that's game week 34 or game week 37 or 37, like how are you going to sort those things out?
Yeah.
So don't get excited about this double game week or the one coming up because there's bigger ones probably on the horizon. So don't
it's just tough when City and Liverpool have such good
it's when it's City and Liverpool.
At least offensively.
Yeah. So to my earlier point, you're getting 6 players in with double game weeks.
Right. And it just happens to be from the 2 best teams
with good matchups.
With you'd say yes.
I think the point is still made that 6 is good, but 11 is better, or whatever, right?
What are you doing? How many Liverpool people do you have?
Right now I only have one. It's Salah.
Oh, you kept Salah this whole time.
So at the moment, I'm going to have one.
Because I didn't want to be in the situation you guys are in.
Actually, that's not
exactly
true. At the moment, I'm going to have 2, Salah and Gomez.
You're getting rid of Jota?
If I want Salah, Jota, actually named Jota, is on his way out. Actually, he's got like 10 names.
I've only got Trent.
Jota.
And so this is exactly it. Like, if I'm really going to do that, where I'm like, I really am tempted to do Trent to Robertson. I don't know how many people are going to have Robertson. I would guess very few.
He's still pretty expensive, and on one showing, it's a little bit scary.
Am I seriously taking a hit to go Trent to Robertson and Jared Bowen to Jota? Am I really doing that? Or to go from Pedro to Darwin? Am I really taking a -8 to do that? Only to give myself now 2 additional blank players for game week 26 with no strategy? Like, am I going to take more hits in game week 26? Like this is where it becomes, for me, it's like massively, it's a huge problem.
So I had 2 transfers in the bank. So it's going to take 3. If I pull this move, it's going to be 3. Pedro Porro turns into Mikolenko. Mikolenko plays in 26. So that's a little bit of a plus there. Porro did not. Jota turns into Salah, probably an upgrade.
Yep.
Solanke goes to Morris, which I feel like that's a little bit of a downgrade, but Morris's numbers, especially recently, have been better than you think they have been. And so, in fact, in the last 6 match weeks, he's been better than Solanke. Morris has. So That's probably, I have not hit confirmed transfers, but that's what I'm
Right.
looking at the moment. But that's the only way I can get the Salah. I have to make money because I spent the Salah money a long time ago.
Which that nearly guarantees your free hit in 26. If that's the way you play it, and you just say, forget it, I'm free hitting 26, then yeah, you
Do
pull
you
the
have
trigger.
to free hit 26 then?
Probably. And I don't love it. I would rather free hit on a week where, I mean, I don't know. Maybe if I can get 6 or 7 guys in, another way to combat that is to do something crazy and hit on a triple captain that week.
Right.
And all of a sudden it neutralizes the loss that you might have that week.
Right.
So there's different ways you can play it. You need to get lucky, and as host of this pod used to say, you make your own luck. So,
And you are not lucky, so.
and I am not. Therefore, I'm not sure exactly
Cursed.
what I'm going to do. Anyways,
Yeah, that's why I'm saying. Like,
All right.
To me, you look at Manchester City and because it's Chelsea, Brentford, Bournemouth in the next 3 weeks. I mean, to me, I see that as like the uncertainty of how they play Salah, like what kind of minutes he gets coming up straight off of an injury. I don't know. I would tend to agree with you, like Travis, that he's fit, he trained, he's Salah, he's coming straight back in.
Yeah.
So, but if it's the difference between that and Chelsea, Brentford, Bournemouth, again, City, who is trying to find a flow, they are the most flowing whenever De Bruyne is playing, and De Bruyne is significantly cheaper than Salah. Like if I wanted to save the free hit for down the road, I mean that's what I would probably end up doing, is just I would take my chances, hope that De Bruyne starts one, comes off the bench for one, and just has like a typically excellent showing.
Yeah.
at the moment, I'd have 5 guys. I could take one hit and still field an 11 for 26, I think, if I made those transfers. Doughty, Morris, Salah, Palmer,
And taking a hit.
and
I think taking
Richarlison.
one hit is probably better than playing.
And
burning your chip
Richarlison's
there.
not playing in 26. So it's 5 guys. So I could take one hit next week and still field an 11. So that's probably going to be my move. I think if I pull the trigger, I think that's going to be my move.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
actually Gomez too. It's Gomez.
Just looking at it just as a basic glance, I just think the teams that right now have definite games in 29, you already have someone probably from Spurs. So the most
but 29 I can slowly
right.
work
But I guess
into
what I'm
that,
saying
right?
is like even the teams that are definitely not playing or that are nearly certainly not playing, they are the best teams. So that's where it's like the reverse of any double game week for City and Liverpool, because they are nearly certainly not playing that week.
So you're free hitting in.
So what I'm saying is, you're free hitting in players. Like if Arsenal goes out of that week, then you're now at the level of like, are you really going to use a free hit in game week 29 to bring in
just trash.
right? Like at that point you are hoping that Manchester United gets their game. You know what I mean? Because then you're like, oh man, but then you're free hitting in.
I've always been in the camp of using my free hit on a double match week.
It just seems like that either assuming that 34 and 37 become the doubles that everybody, kind of the prediction is that they become. To me, I would way rather be able to pick my team in a week like that.
Agree completely.
And then set up for the following one or whatever for like to bench boost.
Yep.
To set up for those weeks. So
I agree.
That's
completely.
my feeling. I don't know.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
The challenge of navigating from now till 29 is going to be how many points are you willing to leave on the table, or how many hits are you willing to take? For me, I'm willing to take infinity hits because that's what I love to do. But I don't know how I'm going to play this yet.
Understood. Travis, any last parting words? Who you triple captaining this week?
No, I don't think so.
Really?
No, I don't think so. I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I don't think I'm triple captaining this week.
I think it's going to be hard for me not to resist to triple captain Haaland. And I know that there's other options later.
Yeah.
And my triple captains almost never work, but if there's one guy that I am okay with triple captaining, it is Haaland, and both City games at home. For me,
that's good.
I think it's going to be hard to walk away from. So, and I feel like anytime I feel like it's a dead on nailed down triple captain, perfect, never seems to happen. So I hope, so we'll see. But if I had to bet on anyone, betting on Haaland is typically a safe bet. Brian, any last parting word?
No, I think look, there's so many variables, and everyone will say the most hated words in all of FPL, team dependent. How you have your setup right now, the players that you have in, who you see as expendable. I really don't know how whatever your team, what you feel like is best for your team. For me,
what's best for your team?
Getting rid of João Pedro is the best thing for my team.
And anything else?
Just hoping that honestly, what I'm hoping is
Pedro for Morris, easy.
I want Trent Alexander-Arnold to play. That saves so much in a week where I want him to be out there.
You have time.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Again, I want to know by Friday. I want to see what happens on Friday, especially because they're the early match. Liverpool at Brentford is the 7 for us. It's a 7:30 game,
and it really is going to depend on Bradley's fitness and Trent's fitness.
We got leaks.
I'm starting Gomez.
We got leaks on most of the key teams prior to the deadline last week, and I missed a couple of ones that might have affected the way I adjusted.
Managed.
Boy. So okay. It's just paying attention all the way up until the most ridiculous 5:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, hoping that somebody is going to leak something useful. It's terrible.
It's so ridiculous. All right.
Anyway.
Gentlemen, well done. Brian, thank you for that rundown and chip strategy. And Travis, thank you as always for
chip mind dump.
Chip mind dump.
Chip's stream of consciousness.
I love it. Whatever. Travis, thank you for all your work. Appreciate you. And gentlemen, as this pod has gone on long enough, thanks for joining us. And until next time.